Matt Smith here with $1 Million producer Brad Allan, and we are going to talk to you in this video about advanced markets, probably the biggest area that you can improve on and that would absolutely have the biggest impact financially for you and your family is advanced markets through fixed index annuities and index universal life. So we're going to spend some time unpacking this with my man Brad. He'll pay probably close to $5 to $6 million of annuity business in 2020.
That's correct.
So that's a big number. So a lot we can learn from Brad. As well as myself, I have a pretty good track record myself of doing that, doing annuities as well. So in regards to retirement, Brad, you know, I always say that it first starts understanding retirement fears, because the fear of loss is 2.5 times greater than the fear of gain. And when you understand that, when you start to communicate with your clients, then you understand what their motives are with their money, and you really can start to move it quicker. So, you know, the 5 retirement fears are obviously the 5th is leaving a legacy. The 4th is negative returns. The 3rd is outpacing inflation. The 2nd is, you know, long-term care and healthcare costs going up. And then the number 1 fear of retirement is making sure that you have lifetime income. You know, people are concerned about outliving their money all the time. So those are your 5 retirement fears. So I really want you to focus and understand that's what people do with their money, and that's their fears in regards to retirement. Once we understand that and we sit down with clients, now we can start to operate and understand how to move the money around. So we're going to talk to you about, you know, qualified funds, which is, you know, qualified to pay taxes like 401ks, traditional IRAs. We're going to talk to you about non-qualified funds, which is basically after-tax money not qualified to pay taxes, as well as savings accounts. We'll even talk to you about a variable annuity and what that looks like, how we can help improve people with variable annuities. And then we'll also talk about, you know, TSPs and FERS, so state and federal funds that we can help clients with as well. I'll start with the qualified funds, Brad. And when we're talking about 401ks, traditional IRAs, what do you do to create that fear or interest to get that second appointment to then move the money? And what are you saying in your second appointment to move the money?
Perfect. Thank you, Matt. So after I go through the financial inventory, and it's, you know, what do you make? What do you spend? Are you a saver? It's not the golden question, but I think it's kind of like the silver question, because I'm looking for savers. Because the difference between what we do with the fixed indexed annuities is they're contractual guarantees. It's not a risk-based investment where, you know, it's speculative. So I'm trading speculation for certainty, and I'm looking for that personality type. So in the financial inventory, when I get to the middle section, is what do you have, the golden question. What do you have that looks or acts like insurance that could cover the liability in your estate upon your death? And I find qualified money like an IRA or a 401k. If it's an orphan 401k, in other words, it's left over from a previous employer, I know that there's an opportunity to protect and grow that. If it's something where they can actually move it, they can do an in-service distribution, and that's the magic words to ask the benefits coordinator at their company, and I tee them up for that. I really just try to identify how much of that money, whatever it is, are they really willing to lose? And I ask it a couple of times, because usually what I hear is 0. And I say, well, you know, if it's really 0, then it wouldn't all still be sitting there. Right. So what's your real number? Because, you know, I'm looking at 600,000. So if your number is 0, great, I can show you how to protect and grow that on the you know, investment arc above bank account, above money market CD bonds, right below the market. That's the sweet spot right there without risk or fee. And so I tease that up, and I really set the follow-up appointment where I come in and show how their numbers really shine. That's what I usually do.
Absolutely. I think the 3 things that everybody could focus on when you're meeting with retirement clients is, you know, what type of money obviously is it? One of the most important questions is, when do they need the money? And are they taking it right now, or do they need it in the future, right? And what is the money for? Like, is it all for income? Because usually people only save for income.
Yep.
So when you meet people, the main reason why anybody saves is for future income, right? For retirement.
Exactly.
But if we can identify those things, then we can build the value around the plan of what type of annuity we can present them, which is great with the AMS team and the things they'll do for you as far as illustrations, the CRM, Ask a Specialist. Those are all great resources and tools.
Correct.
But we're kind of getting into the nuts and bolts of how to find a plan while you're with the client.
Right.
And it's going to be one-on-one, you and them, and you need to understand how to move. So when you go back, Brad, and you're dealing with a 401k or whatnot, is there any specific things that you really drill down and say to a client that helps you build the value, above the price, I suppose?
Absolutely. So the things that I say every single time is look at your statement and how it's performed. Now, whether they're gaining or losing is really irrelevant because you're, say, 64 years old. You're coming up on retirement, for example. That's kind of my typical demographic where I meet people. They're really at the end of the roller coaster of, accumulation. And I say, the number is what it is. And now we need to transition you into the preservation stage so that to address one of the 5 fears, you don't outlive your money. And so if you're looking at where you are now, it's done well, it's not done well, it is what it is. Are you interested in being in a place where you don't go backwards anymore and you only go forwards? And if that's yes, and it almost always is yes, then I run the illustration for them and show them in the second meeting how their money really works for them. And we do some requirement gathering. What do you want to do in retirement? How do you want to have access to this money? Can you live within a 10% access? Because I don't want you seeing surrender charges. And if you have to go over, I always say what that would look like. So if you have, like, say, year 5, you're going to be experiencing a 5% surrender charge, and you can say, let's say that you've got 100,000 and account value in year 5, you could take out 10,000, but you take out 11. Well, they're still going to give you your money, but they're going to hold back 5%.
Absolutely.
So they're going to hold back $50 of that extra 1,000. Right? So it's like, well, you're going to get, 10,950 of your 11,000. And as long as you're okay with that, we should do the planning now. Life does happen. But what I can say contractually is that you're going forward, no longer backwards. And the worst thing is to be going backwards and paying a fee to do so.
Yeah, absolutely.
That always stings.
Absolutely. A couple of things that I have always loved to say to clients, Brad, is, like, especially when you get into the distribution phase versus, accumulation phases, is, listen, I don't know you that well, right? But here's what I do know about money. If you're getting 6% on your money compared to 9%, you're not going to be that upset, believe it or not. You're not going to be that upset if you're at 9 to 6. Do you want the 9? Of course you want the 9, right? Yeah. But you're not going to be upset. The difference is bull markets last usually about 7 years. We're basically on year 12 now of a huge run. And, the average bear market lasts about a year and a half. And it tears down portfolios anywhere from 20 to 40% depending on when it happens. And because you can't afford to lose money like you once have, because you're not 35 anymore, you're 65 or whatever age, you're not going to be upset about 6%. But I'll tell you what, if you got your statement that showed minus 25%, you'd be really upset. Yeah. So that's why the safety of principal and indexing strategies are so effective for index universal life as well as annuities, because you lock in your gains, you don't participate in your losses. Mm-hmm. You can do it for accumulation and distribution. You can take, withdrawals that way as well as, or you can turn on lifetime income like you're talking about. So I think it's important as we, you will kill people, not literally in the house when it comes to life insurance, but when we kill people's money.
Yes.
And they understand, hey, you could be 82. People are living a lot longer.
Yeah.
you could be 82, Brad, and you could, you're 500,000. You think that you've got some money right now. Right. Well, have a year and a half drop where your portfolio drops down 40% and you're still taking 5 or 6% out, right, or whatever the number is going to be. Yeah. You're going to run out of money at age 82.
No, that's a great point.
So can you see why this makes financial sense? Yes. Okay. Let's go through suitability. So I think making sure you know how to kill money is a great tool, and story tell what that looks like.
Of course you say story. That's what I was just going to say is I tell a story in that second meeting just to really hammer home the point of one of the fears is outliving your money. And I say, imagine your retirement is like getting in the car in the desert in Nevada. Mm-hmm. Your gas tank's going to get you 200 miles. That's your bank account. That's your current investment. And you pass a next gas station sign that says 250 miles. Mm-hmm. You're like, oh no, there's no way I'm going to make it. Your whole retirement, you're checking the bank account. That's a horrible way to spend your retirement, constantly seeing if you're going to run out of gas. And so I can't believe you just said storytelling, because that's what I do in every appointment. Is I drive home these points that are typically mathematical or analytical with stories. Yeah. And because the stories really, for most people, resonate that, no, I don't want to be stressed out about my money when I'm in retirement. So that quad fold that Sean Ruggiero and the AMS team put out, and the number one thing of the power of indexing, and that you only go up, not down, realized gains, not paper gains or paper losses. I always leave that behind in between the first and the second appointment. I'm sure most people don't really look at it, but that's okay. I say of the 7 points, really just key in on number 1. Because that's the thing we're going to talk about when I come back and see you next.
Absolutely. And those pamphlets can be found in the CRM as well, which is very easy to print out and bring to your appointment. So it's a great point, Brad. As far as, non-qualified funds, really you can approach them very similar to qualified funds. Maybe the only difference is you're not dealing with, required minimum distribution plans with qualified money versus non-qualified. So there are different programs, but in regards to cash, so we meet a lot of people that have just money in the bank, sitting there and really earning no interest because of the low interest rate environment. That's not going to change anytime soon. Right. My simple close has always been, inflation, right? Mm-hmm. If you've got to find the ability to out-earn inflation safely. Right. So if I can show you a product that will safely out-earn inflation and be as safe as putting the money in the bank, because it's not FDI insured, but it is backed by the insurance company and the state insurance fund and some reinsurance companies along with the insurance company. Right. It's just about as safe as money in the bank. Correct. Then would you be interested? And every single time you're just trial closing like that to create interest, and you say, okay, I'll come back in a couple days and I'm going to show you this, and then leave your pamphlet. Mm-hmm. You can point to the pamphlet section you want them to focus on, right? And that's how you create the interest to hold that second appointment. And money in the bank is probably the easiest one, because you just have them write a check. Right. When they get to the house, it's not difficult. True. Anything you can add to savings?
I have 2 of those out right now. One's not very big; it's $75,000. Mm-hmm. Another one is $200,000. They've both been through suitability, and both clients are looking at timing the market, because they want to, go in when the market's, low, buy low, sell high. Right. And so I've told them both the same thing, that the best time is now, because that's why the market is the market. You don't know if it's going to be a big up or big down, but we need to get you in, because right now you're coffee can in the backyard guy. Right? Your money's doing nothing. It's 0.002%. Right. And so, like I said in our last meeting, you're going to outperform your bank account without risk. You're going to outperform, a CD or a money market or a bond. And so the time to start is yesterday. We need to do this now. And actually today, when we finish here, I'm swooping by to collect one of those checks. So, I kind of talk out of both sides of my mouth sometimes. Yep. That on the non-qualified, it's, you need to capture the gains that you've got so you don't slip backwards. and then continue to grow, outpacing the other subpar investments. And then on the non-qualified side, it's you're leaving money on the table, and this is the best, non-risk type of investments you can have. Why are you waiting? There's no risk. It's a contract.
Yeah, most people aren't aware of those tools, especially people with the savings account. They just don't even know a fixed index annuity exists. So our job is to bring it to the forefront. And if you just ask these questions inside financial inventory, you're going to find a lot of those opportunities.
I think people are confusing them with variable.
For sure.
Annuities?
A lot of times. And variable annuities have a bad name. Let's talk about variable annuities, in fact. So variable annuities, a lot of times when you sit down with people, Brad, and they say, well, my portfolio is guaranteed 6-7%. What they really mean, because they don't even know they own one, is I have a variable annuity. So with annuities, generally speaking, you have a cash value side and an income value side. And on fixed index annuities, depending on the type of annuity, as well as variable annuities, they'll have lifetime income options as well as your cash side. Well, the lifetime income option, when we're talking about guarantees, that is what people believe their cash account is too. So it's two separate things, number one. So when you ever hear somebody say, I'm getting a guaranteed 6 or 7%, it means they probably have a variable annuity. And the biggest thing about a variable annuities are they're extremely heavy fee-oriented animals. And when you break down the amount of fees, mortality expense and expense ratios and admin fees and then you're talking about the fees inside of mutual funds that they own and all these things, it gets upwards to 5% a lot of times on these accounts. And people wonder why the market's gone bananas. And the market's gone bananas, right? And they got a 6-7% income rider, but their income rider has out-earned their cash side, and supposedly the money's in the market with all this upside potential. So the biggest thing I say to a variable annuity client, to keep it very simple, you could sell $1 million of annuity every year just by this one phrase when you meet somebody that has a variable annuity. Say, I'm assuming you bought this for the guarantees, correct, Brad? And they'll say, yes. Say, great. If I can show you a higher guarantee, I'm sure you'd be interested in look at that option. Would you agree? Yes. So now you can show them a 10% roll-up rate and most likely improve what they already have. Now, if they're already taking the income, though, off a variable annuity, really difficult to move, just so you know. It's possible, but very difficult to improve their circumstances. But if they haven't turned on the income side on a variable annuity, the vast majority of the time we're going to be able to help improve that as well. So anything you want to add on when you meet with variable annuities there?
When it comes to variable, I tell people that that's what I used to do in my previous company, and I now deal in certainties. So
I like that.
I traded the speculation for the contractual guarantees. I love saying guarantees. I guarantee. I love saying guarantee.
Everybody likes guarantees. I like guarantees.
I do too.
Just because you said it so many times, I'm excited. So with federal and state funds, FERS, and TSPs, generally they just annuitize that money.
Yeah.
So a lot of people like the idea of, hey, if I can show you a way to give you those same benefits, but then you have the control.
Yes.
And potentially could put you in a better program, I'm sure you'd be interested. So it's all about teeing this up. People overcomplicate these things, but they don't ask about it. So if you're worth a federal or state employee, they most likely have a TSP.
Yeah.
You can move that money at age 60 and above, so not before then.
Right.
But it's a simple sale. And gosh, I moved a lot of TSPs in my day, just giving them lifetime guarantees in a way there. How about you, Brad? Have you dealt with that as well?
I've been doing a lot with that lately because of the year that we're in with the pandemic and the weird economy and companies really struggling to meet their numbers. There's been a lot of packages being handed out, voluntary layoffs. Hey, if you take early retirement, we're going to give you a little bit of a bump so that we can lower our staff count and run rate. So I'm meeting people for different reasons. It could be, an instant internet life lead, and I'm sitting with them, and it's like, oh, hey, what do you do for a living, Matt? It's like, well, I used to be an engineer at but I'm going to take the package. It's like, really? Well, so what is the package? Well, they're guaranteeing me $3,600 a month. I say, oh, okay, well, I do that too, So I'm assuming that it's not an Athene fixed indexed annuity named Agility. There was only one number one. You could go with number two. I mean, I wouldn't. Yeah. You know, if I have a choice between the number one or the number two, I mean, because let's be honest, those are all annuities.
Yep.
And if you had the option to choose the number one, hey, I'm not an IVR, I'm Brad Allan. I live in your neighborhood. I answer my phone. I'm free to you. And I do this all day long. And I'm representing the number one company in this space on the planet. And if we're lucky enough to get you into the number one product, why wouldn't you? And that's probably the last 5 that I've done have been exactly that way. People that are retiring and they don't want to take an inferior annuity through a pension.
Absolutely. No, those are great points. Let's transition. So most of the time, a lot of producers will say, can somebody contribute on a monthly basis to annuities? These are single premium items. There's like small ones. My advice is just stay away from anything that as far as annuities, to contribute to them on a monthly basis. So when we're talking about contributions, now we can shift gears into index universal life and tax-free retirement.
Yeah.
I think it's important for individuals to understand that there's 4 types of money. So the best type of money is free money. The second best is tax-free, then tax deferred, then taxed, right? So just understanding that is important, but also starting to develop strategies. The thing I love about IULs is, like I said, the only reason why people save money is for income. Mm-hmm. So the other thing is Trinity College came out with that study about the 4% rule, which would be, if you have $100,000, you could take out $4,000 a year and never worry about outliving your money.
Right.
Well, the thing I would say about an IUL, and Morningstar is down to 2.8%, by the way, on withdrawal rates. So long story short is withdrawal rates are just as important as interest rates.
Yeah.
And people don't even spend any time on withdrawal rates and factors. Mm-hmm. So the key component in regards to IULs is, the thing I like about it is indexes, so you can't lose any money. Right. You get the realized gains, you capture gains, lock in those gains. But then when you start to withdraw the money out, Brad, you can take that 7, 8, sometimes 9%, depending on how long you fund a product, out every year and never worry about outliving your money. And because of taxes as low as they've ever been, that's going to change sooner. It probably will change soon now. Right. It's important for you to start developing a tax-free retirement strategy that maximizes your income and decreases your tax footprint. Yeah. So talk to you. I know you sell a lot of IULs. Talk to us about that as well.
Yeah. So when I first started, I wrote down everything you said. I really did. This ratio, that you should do some of those. And I remember you said that you had, I think it was 6 IULs in your family. Some for you, some for your kids, and what have you. So I only have 2. I'm still 4 behind. But before I plopped down my money, I wanted to know everything I could about all of the IUL, the industry. Really, I trust you, Matt. I really do. But
trust but verify.
Trust but verify. So when I'm sitting in front of a prospective IUL client, I can say with conviction that I believe in the recommendation because I own it. Mm-hmm. It's huge. It makes a huge difference. So I have the Mutual of Omaha IUL Express with an increasing death benefit. Why wouldn't you? Yep. And I also have the Accordia or Global Atlantic Financial, the Lifetime Builder Elite. Yep. And I'm overfunding those. Yep. And it's a couple grand a month. But it's because I'm not as young as you, so I need to throw more cash at it to make up for time.
Sure.
But the beautiful thing, like you said, is it's another passive income stream that I can look forward to in my retirement years, and that's the way I present it to people. One, on the fixed index annuity side, has nothing to do with health. It has everything to do with cash flow and liquidity, and if it makes sense, and what we can roll and what we can't one time. And the other is kind of the kissing cousin, where they both don't go below 0, but one is a pay-as-you-go, and it is health-based. And so if you're healthy enough and you don't have a big lump sum to roll over, but you want all the benefits of the annuity, but you have to do a pay-as-you-go. This is the one for you, and it's the hottest one in the industry based on your, profile, your bank account, your budget, your health, and that's how I do so many of those.
Absolutely, and I think it's important for you to understand as far as illustrations, things like that. You can click on Ask a Specialist, get with the AMS team. I know Kim does a great job, as well as Lauren with annuities over there. Oh, yeah. There'll be some great resources and tools for you as well. One of the things I would tell you about any time that you can meet with clients, if you can keep things simple, they're used to advisors talking over their heads and really going like this 10,000 foot view that they can't even understand. If you can keep it simple and talk to them about like that Trinity rule there that they came out with, that study, the 4% rule, 2.8 Morningstar, all those things. If you talk about that and talk about what savings looks like and how much they can truly have, and then show them what on a tax-free basis what that looks like and how it won't affect their Social Security income. It's basically it's inside of a permanent life insurance policy, so that's the way they get around the IRS, I suppose. And it's just a great benefit and a great tool, I think, between index universal life as well as fixed index annuities. If you're not making at least $100,000 in each category of extra income, it just means that you're not paying attention. So you're literally stepping over dollars to pick up pennies if you're not in the advanced market.
And people ask me, where do you find these opportunities? I've been running a lot of final expense, and I just don't see the same things that you see. That's not true. I'm running the exact same leads in the exact same zip code. It's kind of like when you buy a blue truck, all of a sudden you see all the blue trucks on the road. You need to at least break the seal. If you haven't sold an IUL or an index universal life or a fixed index annuity, when you go through the financial inventory and you're asking the golden question and you see some dollar amount that's over 50,000, circle it and talk to your upline manager and run a follow-up appointment. And as soon as you start to identify those opportunities, they start to snowball. And we have a lot of lead sources, some of which, like the Annuity Hub, they actually are leads for these products. Sure. So it's not like you need to just find them in some different type of lead. We now have leads that are specifically designed to identify these opportunities. So there's really no excuse. Sean Ruggiero said, and I do pay attention, he said you should see one of these at least once a month. And so that's what I was always, having as a metric, that I should be at least writing one fixed indexed annuity a month and at least that much and more index universal life. And I've really doubled down on those goals where it should be, a couple of months. For sure.
Absolutely. And I think Brad hit it on the head where you run final expense, you run mortgage leads, you run instant internet life leads, you do Medicare, and you get annuity sales and IUL sales based off of all those different avenues. Absolutely. It's never just a one-trick pony. Nope. There's many different ways to do it. And it's amazing to me, doing this for a dozen years, seeing a producer, you're up in Seattle area, they'll be in Seattle and they can't find any money. Right. And they can't move any money. Yeah. And then Brad's got, $6 million of issue paid annuity business this year, for example, in the same exact territory, same client base, same everything. And it's just being aware, become a student of the game, plugging into the resources that we have at Family First Life and going to the next level. So
can I share one story?
Yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
So my favorite annuity that I've written was just about 2 months ago. It was a mortgage protection lead. I got to the house. They said, due to COVID, please do not come in. My husband has stage 4 cancer. So I go to the house, knock on the door, step back 10 feet, say, hey, I'm Brad. Here's my license. Here's the request you sent in. I just need to verify your ID. I'll run the appointment from the driveway. And I'm thinking, well, you never know.
Right.
And so I verify IDs, they're a nice couple, they're late 60s. And I'm sitting in the driveway on my cell phone, taking notes, doing my financial inventory, and he had about 1.2 million in 401ks, a couple of different 401ks. And they wanted to protect the mortgage, and he's worried about, if he passes away, will his wife be able to stay in the house?
Right.
And I said, well, what I think you really should do, because with stage 4 cancer, my options are limited, but you could self-insure And he's like, what do you mean self-insure? I said, well, we'll just protect a portion of this amount to pay off the house in the event of your death. Voids probate, tax-free. And it's like, how do you do that? And so I set the follow-up, and I ran it 100% over Zoom. So the next week from my office, got them both on Zoom, and wrote the Agility 10 with a 20% bump to the benefit base, so that if he passes, not only is the house going to be paid off for his wife, but additional 20% paid out over the 5 years. And he said, you know, can I roll over more than what the house is? I said, yeah, we'll have to see, get you through suitability. Ended up rolling, and it's now issued. It was $670,000. It was my biggest one recently that issued, and it was 100% virtual.
That's pretty strong.
And it had everything to do with identifying and seeing the opportunity and not being afraid to approach it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Being able to pivot in the house is the game changer when you have maybe an unhealthy client, but they have money. Knowing how to transition that is huge, and a lot of people miss those opportunities. But if you're aware, hungry, and willing, you'll definitely find it. So, you know, thanks for joining us on this video. I hope it helps. If you have questions, make sure to get with the AMS team as well. Great, tremendous resources there. And thank you, Brad, as well.
Thanks, Matt.
Yep.